Remembered that today so that we can begin our beautiful practice. I'd like to just welcome everyone to Recovery Dharma and the Spokane Sangha. My name is Julia, and I will facilitate our practice today, Friday, beautiful day. For the month of April, for anyone who's joining us for the first time, or if it's been a minute since you've been here, for this month, we're exploring something in Buddhism called the Four Noble Reminders. The first being you have a precious human life. The second is the nature of reality is impermanent. The third noble reminder is karma. Our true belonging reflects our actions. And then the fourth is the folly of samsara, the idea of cyclical existence, suffering. The ways we have cultivated patterns of habit energy that keep us sort of trapped and stuck and ensnared and lost in at times self-inflicted pain. And so when we begin to slowly awaken to the causes and conditions of our own suffering and the cyclical habitual patterns that we've created for ourselves, we begin to experience ease. What I love about the Four Noble Reminders is how they internet, how they're interconnected and overlap. Yesterday, we were talking about the second noble reminder, which is the nature of reality is impermanent, which simply means that everything is subject to change. And one of the things that I brought forward was it's inspired a little bit by a koan, a question that really has no answer. It's just a koan is a tool for contemplation. And one of the koans I have thought about is the idea of what was your face before you were born? And so then that inspired the meditation yesterday, which was to think about who were you before you were born, before you were you? Who were you in your mother and your grandmother and your great-grandmother and her grandmother and so on and so on and so on. And all of your ancestors and their lives and their experiences and their karma, their actions, good and bad, all of those things came together in this extraordinary evolution and have arrived to this moment, to each of us here today. And it's extraordinary, really. And one of the reasons why we contemplate this, or certainly as I've been taught to reflect on these contemplations, is it's a way of gently bringing the mind out of its sort of self-centered, petty worries, and to just sort of broaden the perspective a little bit, to give us a tap, to give us a gentle reminder that there's something bigger going on than just my attitudes, my moods, my thoughts, my experiences, my regrets. I'm part of something much, much bigger. Frankly, something unfathomable. And maybe if I can tap into that a little bit, tap into that limitless wellspring, it will help remind me that the ways that I loop on my regret, on my shouldas, I should have done that, I wish I would have done this, I could have done this, why didn't I do that? Over and over and over and over again. I can simply just put down that energy a little bit and open up to the infinite array of life, and by extension, its possibilities. So today, we're going to explore that a little bit more with a blessing by John O'Donohue. And it comes from this book, To Bless the Space Between Us, by John O'Donohue. And this might very well be my favorite of his blessings. He has several, but this one is really, really meaningful to me. And I'm going to wait for one of our community members who just arrived, because she wrote to me this morning, and I sent her a lengthy email about my affinity for John O'Donohue. And the thing that I love about this particular blessing, this particular poem, is the invitation to contemplate the divine mystery, the holiness of being here, the sacredness of this whole thing happening at all, and how you and I came to be in this moment. It's just really amazing. This is, if you have this book, this blessing is on page 42, and it's called For Presence. For Presence. And if you missed the resource here, this is the book, To Bless the Space Between Us, by John O'Donohue. If you're not familiar with John O'Donohue, he was an Irish poet and mystic. He was a Catholic priest for nearly 20 years. He lived in Connemara, the western part of Ireland, in an area, a limestone area known as the Burren. Lo and I were very fortunate to be able to visit this place that inspired him so deeply in the September of 2023. And I'd like to read for you this blessing, and I'd like to invite you to just come into its presence, your presence, and the changes that you have endured. Many of us are on the journey of recovery because we have been worn down to a nub by the negative qualities of our own habit energy. And in the process of that wearing down, we have buried our innate goodness, our Buddha nature. We have limited our access to the divine. We have forgotten the wellspring of light that exists not because of anything good we've done, but simply because this is the nature of who each of us are as living beings, as cellular constructs of this extraordinary evolutionary magic that's been going on for billions of years. From beings that emerged from the amniotic seas to an air environment without which the trees and bushes and green beings, we couldn't breathe. And so we have this wonderful environment of flora and fauna to nurture our own lives and enable us to breathe in the air element. This happened over millions and millions of years. And for the last couple of 100,000 of years, human beings have been able to roam this extraordinary living planet. This is a blessing for your presence. Awaken to the mystery of being here and enter the quiet immensity of your own presence. Have joy and peace in the temple of your senses. Receive encouragement when new frontiers beckon. Respond to the call of your gift and the courage to follow its path. Let the flame of anger free you from all falsity. May warmth of heart keep your presence aflame. May anxiety never linger about you. May your outer dignity mirror an inner dignity of soul. Take time to celebrate the quiet miracles that seek no attention. Be consoled in the secret symmetry of your soul. May you experience each day as a sacred gift woven around the heart of wonder. Friends, it is said that the Buddha believed anger to be one of the most defiling emotions we can experience. And the reason for this is because it distorts our perceptions and our thinking. It creates drama and conflict where there may be none. It is an enormous source of projection and blame. And so working with anger and coming into its presence and all the ways that anger can live within us. And anger isn't just about being hot and mad. Anger is sister and first cousin to emotions like disappointment and frustration, irritation, agitation, general upset. John O'Donohue is advising that using anger, getting to know and understand how these feelings live within us as a source of light, it can burn away falsity. And what he's referring to is burn away the false perceptions, the misperceptions, the distortions we harbor. And in this context of what we've been talking about in terms of impermanence, what I'd like to invite in your mind is the way that we hold on to regrets and past hurts, almost as if they are a betrayal to goodness. And what I mean by that is when we take little steps toward joy and happiness and liberation and freedom, it feels like a betrayal to all the wrongdoing that we have done, all the harm we've caused, all the harm that's been caused to us. And so we deny goodness, we deny beauty and wonder. And in that process, we are creating the conditions for a life half lived. the practice is to grow our capacity to hold both. And the trick to holding bothness is to recognize their separateness and also their connectedness. And this paradox is very, very tricky. Thich Nhat Hanh called it inter-are, how aspects of life, sacred contradictions and paradoxes, inter-are. It's a wisdom teaching that you'll find in many, many spiritual practices that I call not one, not two. And so the way to think about this is the sun and its warmth, not one and not two. The sea and its wave, not one, not two. The good things that happen in my life, the bad things that happen in my life, they're not the same thing, they're not one thing, but they're also not completely separate either, because I know that some of the worst things that have ever happened to me have informed the best things that ever happened to me, so I cannot separate them. They are intimately woven, connected, but they're not one thing. Together they create the wholeness of my life and the wholeness of me. And so my capacity and my invitation is to learn how to hold both. My regrets inform how I want to be in the world so that I create less harm. My disappointments and my frustrations, they are valid. People disappoint me. They don't meet my expectations. That's valid. It's not just about not having expectations. It's about being able to look at my expectations so that I don't react on them and produce harm, but instead look at my expectation, look at the conditions, and see how I can work with them to respond with wisdom and compassion. These little tokens of awareness change us. So while we may be exposed to habit energy, a situation will arise in our lives that feels very familiar. Something in our past is rearing its ugly head, some memory. And in the moment, our thoughts take over, and we suddenly feel like in the present moment we're experiencing the past. But the nature of impermanence tells us that that thinking is a distortion. The present moment isn't the past. It is a brand new moment, a whole new miracle. And I, by virtue of these practices, get to treat that memory, get to treat that very similar feeling experience in a whole new way. And because I've changed, the experience will change in this moment. And that will inform changes in my future. The past helps us heal the present and transform our futures. This is extraordinary. And it's part of the mystery of being here. And at the heart of all this wonder is you. Breathing in at the heart of all this wonder. Breathing out is me. Breathing in at the heart of all this wonder. Breathing out is you. Breathing in at the heart of all this wonder. Breathing out is life. Breathing in, not one. Breathing out, not two. Thank you, friends. So, friends, let's go ahead and end our practice today with a dedication of merit. And I'd like to read another blessing for you today from this book. Oh, this is your address, Gary. A little sticky note for myself from our book, To Bless the Space Between Us. And this one is for friendship. And I feel so blessed to, to have you all as my friends and my family. May you be blessed with good friends and learn to be a good friend to yourself. Journeying to that place in your soul where there is love, warmth, and feeling. May this change you. May it transfigure what is negative, distant, or cold within your heart. May you be brought into real passion, kindness, and belonging. May you treasure your friends. May you be good to them, be there for them, and receive all the challenges, truth, and light you need. May you never be isolated, but know the embrace of your Anam Cara, which is Gaelic for soul friend. Thank you for your beautiful practice, wise, wise friends. Have a beautiful afternoon. We'll see you next time. Namaste.